Hi! Today, my learning target is I can distinguish between a claim that has support and those that don't by locating the evidence in a text. Let's go ahead and take a look at our two pieces of text today, starting with our first one. My first piece of text is called Adolf Hitler as a Ruler. First, I'm just going to read the piece, and then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to be looking for evidence that matches my claim below. Adolf Hitler as a ruler. Adolf Hitler to some was a great ruler, but to others he was a murderer. Hitler was the leader of the Nazi Party and was the dictator of Germany. He ordered to have millions of Jews murdered or thrown in prisons. Hitler's hate for Jews and Slavs grew and became fiercely nationalistic. In 1913, he moved to Munich, Germany, to become part of the Austrian army. The army found him physically unfit to be in the service. World War I began August 1914, and Hitler immediately signed up for the German army and was accepted. While recovering from a battle injury that caused temporary blindness, Germany surrendered to her enemies in November 1918. Hitler was angered and felt compelled to save Germany. In the autumn of 1919, Hitler attended meetings of the Germany Workers' Party. After joining the group, they decided to change their name to National Socialist Germany Workers. This party was soon known as the Nazi Party. Hitler was chosen as the leader and went on to kill millions of innocent people. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my piece now and I'm going to look for evidence to support Adolf Hitler was not a great leader. So let's go ahead and start back at the beginning. Adolf Hitler to some was a great ruler, but to others he was a murderer. Okay? Now, I want to keep looking, but the fact that they're saying that he's a murderer is standing out to me. I'm going to go ahead and highlight what they say here. Then it says Hitler was the leader of the Nazi Party and was the dictator of Germany. Well, from my previous knowledge that I have, learning about the colonies and whatnot, I've always learned that dictatorship is usually a bad thing because it doesn't give rights to the people. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. He ordered to have millions of Jews murdered or thrown in prisons. I'm definitely going to highlight this because if somebody's in charge and they're murdering people, that is usually not the sign of a great leader. Hitler's hate for Jews and Slavs grew and became fiercely nationalistic. Let's see. I think a leader, and I'm going to do some more inferring here because sometimes the evidence isn't directly in the text. I'm going to infer that if a leader is hating a group, that possibly they're not going to have very good decisions. They might be a little bit biased. And they're not making decisions based on what's right or wrong, but based on their own personal preferences. So I'm going to say the fact that he hated Jews and Slavs also didn't support that he was a good leader. In 1913, he moved to Munich, Germany to become part of the Austrian army. Well, that doesn't really show if he was a great leader or not. That's just a fact. The army found him physically unfit to be in the service. Now, at first I thought, that's pretty good. That might be a good piece of evidence, but I don't think the next paragraph talks about how he was fit and he did get into the army, and I don't necessarily think that you have to be physically fit to be a great leader. So let's go ahead and go to the second paragraph. World War I began. Hitler immediately signed up for the German army and was accepted. While recovering from a battle injury that caused temporary blindness, Germany surrendered to her enemies in November. Hitler was angered and felt compelled to save Germany. Well, sometimes people feel angry and it compels them to go on and do things. So I'm not going to say that necessarily didn't make him a great leader. Let's go to the last paragraph here. In the autumn of 1919, Hitler attended meetings of the Germany Workers' Party. After joining the group, they decided to change their name. This party was soon known as the Nazi Party. Now, once again, I know some history and some background knowledge that tells me the Nazi Party was associated with committing some major crimes in history. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. And then the last line, Hitler was chosen as the leader and went on to kill millions of innocent people. So it's that key word in there, innocent, as well. That makes me think that he wasn't a very good leader. Now let's go ahead and move on to our next slide, which is our tree map. And I'm going to take all of the evidence that I found while skimming through the piece and add them into our tree map. As you can see in my tree map here, I've got my claim right up top. Adolf Hitler was not a great leader. And then I've got all of the evidence that I pulled from my text. Adolf as a ruler was my title of my text. And here are all of the different pieces of evidence. He was a part of the Nazi Party and was the dictator of Germany. He ordered to have millions of Jews murdered. Hitler's hate for Jews and Slavs grew and became fiercely nationalistic. And Hitler went on to kill millions of innocent people. Those were all of the pieces of evidence that help support my claim that Adolf Hitler was not a great leader. Now let's go ahead and look at our next piece, Adolf Hitler as a leader. Once again, I'm going to read the entire piece, and then I'm going to go back in and look for evidence to support my claim. Adolf Hitler as a leader. Adolf Hitler is one of the most significant leaders in world history. He will always be remembered for centuries with Nazi Germany and some clear characteristics of a leader. Firstly, he is a goal-oriented leader. He proposed to increase Germany's position on the world stage and welfare of the Germans. He pursued an imperialistic policy where Germany's military forces occupied many countries. For instance, Poland was occupied in 35 days and France was occupied in 40 days. Hitler's invasion of Europe continued with determination. Germany's army won battles with Hitler's amazing strategies. Second, after a spread of Nazi troops, every part of Europe seemed to be invaded in the eyes of people. He acquired fame with brutality. He persuaded millions of people through reputation and intimidation skills. He overcame many hardships easily with his frightening reputation. Even though Hitler killed millions of innocent people while in leadership, he was still a great leader. Consequently, Adolf Hitler will never be forgotten in the future for his characteristics of a leader. Now I'm going to go ahead and go back in, and I'm looking for evidence that supports that Adolf Hitler was not a great leader, and I'm going to underline that once again. Adolf Hitler as a leader. Now remember, I'm just skimming. I'm briefly going over the text. I don't have to necessarily read through it all again, but I'm going to go ahead and skim through each line really quickly. So Adolf Hitler is one of the most significant leaders. Now, that could be somebody's opinion. That could be a bias. And so I need to kind of weigh everything in the text to make sure that I think that that's a true statement, and also to see if it supports my claim. That's kind of supporting an opposite claim that he is a great leader. So I'm going to see if I agree with that at the end. He will always be remembered for centuries with Nazi Germany. Now there's that word Nazi again, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. And some clear characteristics of a leader. Okay, there's that word leader again, but it's not talking about how he's not a great leader. Firstly isn't a word, by the way. First, he is a goal-oriented leader. He proposed to increase Germany's position on the world stage and welfare of the Germans. Those all seem like pretty good things for why he'd be a good leader. He pursued an imperialistic policy where Germany's military forces occupied many countries. Well, that could be that he's a good leader, but I'm looking for things that show he's not a great leader. For instance, Poland was occupied in 35 days and France was occupied in 40 days. Hitler's invasion of Europe, blah, blah, continued with determination. Germany's army won battles with Hitler's amazing strategies. Second, after a spread of Nazi troops, every part of Europe seemed to be invaded. So far, I don't have any evidence, besides the word Nazi, that Adolf Hitler was not a great leader. Let's see. He acquired fame with brutality. Okay, whoa. That means, the word brutality means that he was brutal. He probably was aggressive. He probably was, brutality usually means some kind of aggressiveness, so that's not a very good sign. I don't know. I'm going to keep going. He persuaded millions of people through reputation and intimidation. Okay, the word intimidation makes me think kind of a bully. Somebody who intimidates me is somebody who kind of scares me into thinking a certain way or scares me into believing certain things. And based on my background knowledge and kind of my inferring, if somebody is brutal and intimidating, they probably have kind of a poor reputation or a reputation of being really mean. I'm thinking of that bully again. He overcame many hardships easily with his frightening reputation. Well, there's another support for his reputation being kind of mean and threatening. Frightening is the word they use. Even though Hitler killed, okay, so he's a leader that kills millions of innocent people. That does not sound like a great leader. I don't care if I look up above and it says that he was determined, he had amazing strategies. Well, that's all great, but the fact that he killed millions of innocent people, I don't think great leaders do that. I think that's pretty much illegal and sounds pretty horrible to me. Consequently, Adolf Hitler will never be forgotten in the future. Well, yeah, if you kill millions of innocent people, I can't imagine you're ever going to be forgotten. So those are the claims that I found for why he is not a great leader. So let's go ahead and add those into our tree map. Okay, as you can see, for the article that I entered, our claim is once again up above, and this is the same tree map. I've just added the next title, Adolf Hitler as a Leader. And here are all of the different pieces of evidence that I found while skimming that text. He acquired fame with brutality. He persuaded millions of people through reputation and intimidation. He overcame many hardships easily with his frightening reputation. Hitler killed millions of innocent people while in leadership. All of those things support that he was not a great leader. Okay, let's go ahead and move to our next step, which is what you're going to be doing. Always when we finish our task, we want to go back to our learning target and see if we can say that we've met it. So let's see. Can I distinguish between a claim that has support and those that don't by locating the evidence in a text? Well, I definitely think I found evidence in the text to support the claim that Hitler was not a good leader. And so I think I met my learning target. Now let's go look at what you're going to be doing. Your task. Number 1, read each article once through. You're going to have 3 separate articles, and your articles are going to be about Anne Frank. Number 2, you're going to go back through each article after you've read them just like me and scan the text for evidence that supports the claim Anne Frank was brave. Number 3, use your rubric to create a presentation with a tree map, just like mine, and an app of your choice that classifies all of the evidence you gathered from each piece of text. So you don't have to use Nomia this time. You can use any app that you would like that fits the needs of the presentation. Number 4, create an extra slide in your presentation to answer the frame of reference question, which is, which article best supports or doesn't support the claim? Use evidence from the text to support your reasoning. And you're going to have that, your text support is going to be right in your tree map. And number 5, use your rubric again to make sure your work is proficient before emailing it to Ms. Blosser. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the claim you're going to be using. The claim for the 3 pieces of text that you and your partners will be reading is Anne Frank was brave. The frame of reference question you'll be answering is, which article best supports or doesn't support the claim? Support your reasoning with evidence from the text. And then I've included my email just so you have that extra support. Now let's take a look at your rubric. The rubric you'll be using is similar to the last one you received. You can see the tree map for classifying evidence for your claim right there. You can see the rubric section for your frame of reference, so you're taking it off the map and thinking about what the information said in the map. And then you'll see your presentation options here. If you have any questions, please make sure you ask, and you only have 2 total days to complete this assignment. So you'll get started right now, and you'll turn it in by the end of class tomorrow. Good luck!